Hey YouTube, so it's Taylor and I'm back. I know that I said in my last video that I was going to try and do more videos regularly, but I've been so busy I haven't even had time for myself. First of all, I work full time as a teacher and that job is not an 8 to 3 job, first of all. And second of all, I am getting a master's degree, so I've either been working or going to school. And I'm also in the process of moving, and I want to talk about that later on in this video, but I want to focus on the difficulties of living stealth. Now, like most trans people, I thought initially that having the opportunity to live stealth, having the ability to live stealth, the means to live stealth, was sort of the ultimate goal. And what I found instead was, in consequence to that, a sense of isolation and loneliness. Instead of finding satisfaction in my life, I have found emptiness. I have felt a void because it's so much harder for me to relate to those around me. I've always been a bit of an introvert in my daily life, but it's even more so because I've found that not only do I not like people, I shouldn't say that. Not only do I not like hanging out with people often, but I find that I have to lie, and I feel very uncomfortable having to lie about, very minute details about my childhood and things, but they all sort of build on each other, and it's just, I hate feeling like I don't trust anyone. I hate feeling a sense of sort of ubiquitous fear. Like it's constant, it's everywhere. Um, my students are so intrigued about my life, and thank God they haven't found anything on me that reveals that I'm trans or that I have a trans experience, but I shouldn't have to feel ashamed about that. But the fact is, I live in the Midwest. I live in a state that is looking at enacting legislation that's very similar to the one in North Carolina, where people can be awarded punitive damages for catching someone who's trans in the restroom. And I have no protections here on the basis of gender identity with regard to my employment, meaning that if I were outed, if people were to find out that I am a woman of trans experience, that I could get fired, and I have no means by which to fight back, if that makes sense. They would have total legal grounds to do so, regardless of the inherent discriminatory practice it would be in firing me. But it's just been harder than I thought. It's been difficult relating to people. It's been difficult dating. It's been difficult, um, and teaching is weird because we have to, as teachers, follow a set of archaic norms, meaning that, when I teach, I have to evaluate what my objective is. And my objective as an educator, although some may disagree with me, is to impart mathematical knowledge to my students. It's not to necessarily share my political or religious beliefs or even my views on the LGBT community, because that is considered to be undue influence by most of the parents that whose kids I teach, and it's just, it sucks because I feel like there's something to be said about using educational institutions as a catalyst for self-discovery and challenging your views and finding yourself in that kind of thing. But I think that lends itself more to a college setting than it does to a high school setting, where there are a bunch of variables at play, and puberty is just really hard too, and you have these emotions running rampant with teenagers, and it's just, I don't want a kid to go home and say that I indoctrinated them, if that makes sense. And that seems very selfish, but I have to do it for the sake of my job and for my livelihood. And I've just found that I'm in my second year of teaching, and I've determined that this isn't for me. The career is, but as far as the place of employment, I've grown up in Kansas all my life, but I deserve to be in a place, to reside in a place and teach in a place that is much more open minded. And I can't express to you how nice it is to read job descriptions that state they do not discriminate on the basis of both sexual orientation and gender identity. And right now, trans people are just a hot button issue. And there's so much backwards legislation that's trying to be passed right now, as I mentioned earlier, that hinders us as individuals and our transitions, and it's just really unfortunate. And I feel like if I were to move to a place like California, not only would I have that sense of security, but I can build a platform with which to discuss these things openly without having them affect my job in a negative way. Of course, I always have to filter what I say, but I just I want to have that sense of security. And I actually published an article, or I submitted an article to Hello Giggles, which, if you haven't heard of them, they're sort of a women empowerment forum started by Zoe Deschanel. And they are very interested in my work, so hopefully that gets published soon. But I just wanted to talk about this. I hope you guys are doing well. It's going to take me a bit to get back into the swing of making videos, but thanks for being patient with me, all my 6 subscribers, and hopefully I'll just go from there.